On a late summer Mediterranean night, the American Fifth Army, led by Lieutenant General Mark W. Clark, and the British 10th Corps braced themselves for the monumental task ahead. The outcome of the Italian campaign against the Germans, and perhaps the fate of Europe itself, rested on their shoulders. In the tumultuous weeks prior, the political landscape in Italy had undergone a seismic shift. Mussolini's fall from power and the ascent of Marshal Badoglio signaled a weakening allegiance to the Axis cause. On the same day, Italy signed an armistice with its now former enemy, and the Allies crossed the Straits of Messina, resolute in their advance on mainland Italy. In the pre-dawn darkness, the soldiers of Operation Avalanche steeled themselves for the battle to come. The beaches of Salerno beckoned, and with them, the hope of shattering the Axis grip on Europe. Mainland Italy. In the wake of the Allies' hard-fought victories in North Africa in May 1943, the High Command sought to open a second front against the Axis in Europe. While Normandy was their first choice, the British war planners were convinced that a cross-channel attack would not be successful until the following year. As American President Franklin D. Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill convened at the Trident Conference in Washington that month, they decided to alleviate pressure on the Eastern Front with Operation Husky, an invasion of Sicily. The success of this operation and the sudden deposition of dictator Mussolini in July opened the possibility of a separate peace with Italy. With this, the Allies seized the opportunity and began planning the invasion of Italy at Salerno, known as Operation Avalanche. The area's superb sea approaches, lack of shoals, and soft defenses made it the prime location for the main assault. Naval Force. Preparing for the invasion, the Allies assembled a formidable force under Vice Admiral H. Kent Hewitt and Lieutenant General Mark Clark, with British and American troops divided into northern and southern sectors for better coordination. A group of 55,000 soldiers would create the first wave, while 115,000 more would follow up. Despite having only 35,000 soldiers, the German defenders were composed of two of their most formidable divisions, the 16th Panzers and the Hermann Göring Division. These elite, fervently dedicated troops had undergone nearly 10 years of rigorous training and indoctrination. Albert Kesselring, one of Nazi Germany's top commanders, even boasted how one such soldier was worth 3 of the Allies. On September 3rd, in anticipation of Avalanche, Montgomery's British 13th Corps executed supporting Operation Baytown. Landing at Reggio Calabria, the leader hoped to pin down German troops, but Albert Kesselring, the German commander-in-chief, anticipated their strategy, withdrawing his forces and leaving only token resistance. The same day Avalanche was initially set to launch, British paratroopers of the 1st Airborne Division performed Operation Slapstick, capturing the strategic port cities of Taranto and Brindisi without resistance. Then, as the invasion neared, nearly 600 units of Hewitt's Western Naval Task Force embarked from various Mediterranean ports and sailed toward Salerno. As the ships of Operation Avalanche converged on the evening of September 8th, an atmosphere of electrifying anticipation enveloped the Allied troops. Among the vessels involved in this monumental effort were several key warships providing essential naval gunfire support, or NGFS. The force in the American sector included the light cruisers Philadelphia and Savannah, along with 4 tenacious destroyers, while the British sector was supported by the light cruiser Uganda and the veteran battleship Warspite. However, as the invasion force approached Salerno, Marshal Pietro Badoglio, Italy's new leader, reached a peace settlement with the Allies. As such, General Dwight Eisenhower announced Italy's capitulation on the evening of September 8th. The news sparked jubilation among the tightly packed troops aboard transport vessels, boosting their morale. With the Italian surrender in hand, and amidst the chaos of deception and daring operations, they stood on the precipice of a critical turning point in the struggle to break the Axis hold on Europe. An avalanche in Italy. On September 9th, as the moonlit Mediterranean night began to fade, Operation Avalanche began to unfold. As the Allies approached the shores of Salerno, the sea began to boil with the explosive impact of heavy shells from the Allied warships. The German defenders on shore, caught in the torrent of shell fire, struggled to maintain their positions. Even so, a hail of enemy fire met the invaders, but the unrelenting barrage from the cruisers and destroyers kept the defenses at bay. Meanwhile, the American Fifth Army, commanded by Lieutenant General Mark W. Clark and the British 10th Corps, prepared for the monumental task ahead, knowing full well that the outcome of the Italian campaign depended on them. As the landing crafts neared the shoreline, they navigated treacherous sandbars and obstacles, their crews fully aware that any hesitation could lead to disaster. But unbeknownst to the soldiers, the German forces, led by Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, had anticipated the landings at Salerno and strengthened their defenses accordingly. Employing a defense-in-depth strategy, the Germans used a combination of coastal fortifications, minefields, and strongpoints. When the Allies reached the shore, the German defenders unleashed a storm of resistance. Machine guns spat out streams of bullets, tearing into the advancing soldiers and exploding around the landing craft. Despite the onslaught, the soldiers pressed forward, knowing that retreat was not an option. The British 10th Corps then landed in the northern sector, codenamed Sugar and George, while the American forces, including the U.S. 36th Infantry Division, disembarked in the southern sector, codenamed Dog, Easy, and Fox. Complications. Now on the beaches, the soldiers scrambled to find cover and establish a foothold, because the German defenders, having reinforced their positions under Kesselring's command, kept launching relentless counterattacks. The invasion was further complicated by the recent announcement of the Italian armistice, which sowed confusion among both the Italian and German forces. Soon, the Italian troops found themselves in a precarious position, as they were caught in the crossfire between the Allies and the Germans, unsure of their role in the unfolding battle. The British troops kept fighting through intense German fire to secure the vital high ground of Montecorvino Ravella in the northern sector, while the United States 36th Infantry Division engaged in a desperate battle to establish a beachhead in the south and expand it under heavy German pressure. Moreover, the hilly terrain around Salerno made it difficult for the Allies to establish effective communication lines, hampering their coordination efforts. In some cases, individual units became isolated from the main force, making them more vulnerable to German counterattacks. The terrain provided ample opportunities for the defenders to set up ambushes and establish defensive positions, slowing down the Allied advance and increasing casualties. Despite the ferocious resistance and unfavorable conditions, the Allied forces pressed on, sometimes performing the ultimate acts of bravery and service to their country. A hero. Amidst the chaos and fury of Operation Avalanche, a young American soldier, Sergeant James Marion Logan, rose above the fray to demonstrate extraordinary courage and determination. As the 36th Infantry pressed 2,400 feet inland, Logan's soldiers found themselves taking cover on the bank of an irrigation canal, face to face with German gunners counterattacking from a nearby rock wall. Under a hail of gunfire, Logan recognized the urgency of the situation and knew that he had to act fast if he wanted to save his fellow soldiers. Defying the odds, Logan charged into the fray, eliminating 3 German soldiers as they emerged from the wall. Unrelenting, he stormed the machine gun position and overcame the 2 Germans who manned it, displaying exceptional fearlessness and tenacity. His keen senses and unwavering determination also led him to capture an enemy officer and private that were attempting to escape, ensuring valuable intelligence would not be lost. Later, as a hidden sniper threatened his comrades, Logan once again proved his mettle. He braved a torrent of bullets, traversed 600 feet, reached the sniper's hideout, and skillfully shot the lock off the door before neutralizing the threat. For his remarkable acts of heroism, Sergeant James Marion Logan was bestowed with the prestigious Medal of Honor, forever securing his place among the pantheon of American heroes. Relief. As the German forces pushed forward, the Allied troops received a much-needed lifeline in the form of air support from the British Royal Air Force. Typhoon aircraft swooped in, strafing the German tanks and infantry, turning the tide of the battle in favor of the Allies. By the end of the day, the Allies assessed the situation. The British 10th Corps in the northern sector and the American 5th Army in the southern sector had fought fiercely, but the British troops struggled to secure the crucial high ground of Montecorvino Ravella, and the Americans battled desperately to establish and expand their beachhead under relentless German pressure. And while both the British and the Americans had made slow progress and had a 10-mile gap between them at the end of the first day, the Allies had secured a foothold on the Italian mainland. With the beachhead secured and the German forces in retreat, the Allies could now set their sights on the next phase of the Italian campaign, closing the gap and meeting up. However, for the brave Allied troops that landed at Salerno, Operation Avalanche was only the beginning. and the road to Rome and the liberation of Europe lay before them. Thank you for watching our video. Don't miss out on more epic encounters from modern history by subscribing to Dark Seas and the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels. And show your support by hitting that like button and clicking the bell icon to be notified of our latest content. We publish new videos regularly, so stay tuned.